Now, despite being knocked out in one of the worst possible ways you can get knocked out, outside of being put to sleep by Manny Pacquiao, George Groves wasn't put to sleep. He was sort of, we're going to say he was sedated by Carl Froch on May the 31st, 2014 in the 8th round. If you don't know, George Groves is now 19-2 with 15 knockouts. He's pursuing the WBC title that Sakio Bika and Anthony Dirrell was fighting for this weekend, August the 16th, 2014, on a Sean Porter versus Kell Brook undercard. So, as it stands right now, it's August the 14th, 2014, and on September the 6th, 2014, George Groves is going to be taking on Christopher Rebrasse in Wembley in London. Rebrasse, French fighter, 22-2-3 with only 6 knockouts, and credible competition is not really there. So I've watched a few of the guys' fights, and he's flat-footed. He's going to be right there. George Groves is going to look like a ballerina being able to dance around it. So to move on past the fight, where does George Groves go? Now, he's a very, very smart fighter for a 26-year-old. Very, very smart guy. Why? Is because he was somewhat of a free agent promoting himself at one point in time. He is now a manager, a boxing manager. He signed his first fighter, what is his name, Luke Watkins or something like that. But you got a 26-year-old boxer, boxing contender, manager, probably will be a promoter in the future, and also he does know how to do business. And he did headline the biggest boxing event of the year, of the past few years, of the past several years, actually. You know, so when you're putting 70,000+ people into a stadium, you know, that's not 50, that's not 60, that's 70,000 people. You know, you deserve to be talked about. So he's with a promotional company now, Sauerland Promotions, and big fights are out there for him. He's now in the 168-pound WBC title mix, and that WBC title was the one that Andre Ward used to have. But now, you know, Sakio Bika and Anthony Dirrell is fighting for it. Now, it's a good chance Anthony Dirrell is going to defeat Sakio Bika. Sakio Bika is going to move up to 175 pounds. So you can most likely probably count on George Groves versus an Anthony Dirrell sometime. Well, George Groves said it can happen before Christmas. You know, that's wishful thinking. And if George Groves can get it done, more testament to him, like I said, being a very smart fighter. So Anthony Dirrell versus George Groves, or whoever wins between Dirrell and Bika, can happen sometime, in my opinion, in the late winter, basically. Because, see, George Groves is the type of fighter, and like I said, he's very intelligent, is that he'll go to the WBC and be like, yo, like, order a purse bid. Like, I want to fight him, you know, like he did with Carl Froch. Carl Froch was ready to move on and go fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. after the controversial stoppage on November the 22nd, 2013, you know, and George Groves went to the IBF and basically, you know, as they call it in the UK, winged, you know, his way into a mandatory rematch. Carl Froch now is since, you know, he wants to fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. George Groves, when he was defeated, the next day, he did an interview with IFL TV, Kugan Cassius, and he was in denial. You know, it just seemed like he just, you know, like I said in my previous videos on this, like when he got knocked out, it was almost like he was dreaming, you know. Then he woke up and looked at the ref and looked at Froch like, no, and the nightmare was just real. But that next day, he just didn't seem, with his face all busted up, it didn't seem to sink in. But at the press conference of him and Rebrasse, it seemed to, he seemed more to be at peace with someone. He said, of course, he'll never forget it, but he's not talking Carl Froch's name no more. He's going after a whole different title, period, which is good for him. Now, where does he rank among the 168-pounders? I'm going to put him top 3. I'm going to put Andre Ward, Carl Froch, and then him. You know, how we do against a guy like Chavez Jr., when you match him up against certain fighters, that's the issue. You know, styles make fights. Anthony Dirrell and him might be a very close fight. You know, him and James DeGale again might be another very close fight. It all depends, and that's why I got to see how he looks in this Rebrasse fight, and he's supposed to clean cut stop him, and Rebrasse never been stopped. So he's supposed to look extremely good in this fight, and then whoever he fights between Bika and Anthony Dirrell, he's got to look great. You know, he's got to look great. You know, but at this point in time, and actually that would be a good fight to judge Anthony Dirrell. So if we do get Anthony Dirrell and George Groves, that'll be the perfect fight for both of those guys to be able to judge each other. You know, we'll be able to judge both of them off of that fight because Anthony Dirrell, his career, and then George Groves with the Carl Froch and, you know, and the James DeGale and the Glenn Johnsons. But if you don't know, I'm T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live. I cover boxing, every single major fight live. Subscribe.